So our inventory, it's up from the same time last year dramatically, but we have the same amount of inventory as we did in June, right? It's
still
been
pretty
kind
low.
of, yeah, it is. It really is. But our showing activity is the exact same as it was last year when we had less than half the inventory. So we have more than double the amount of listings, but the same showing activity. So let's say last year you had a detached home that's listed at $700K. You're getting 50 showings on that. You'd be lucky to get 25 in 2-3 weeks now. Lucky.
Yep.
So just to give you perspective, prices, our average price point is down from last year. We're down about a few thousand. We're pretty much at the same price levels as we were last year.
Okay.
But indications are pointing that prices are going to stay the same or decrease a little bit in the near future, right? Okay. As inventory stacks up and as demand doesn't get stronger, more options for buyers. Buyers are going to shop more. Properties are going to sit longer. Prices will stay the same or come down.
All right, guys, welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. I am super excited to be your guest host this month for our Waterloo Region market update. So I've got Zack Brittain from the Phipps Brittain Real Estate team out of, KWC, Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge region. Zack's an absolute specialist, so he's going to talk to us a little bit this month about who can kind of win in the KWC region and overall how the market is performing. So how you doing, Zack?
I'm doing great, Emma. Good to have you on. I'm glad you're hosting. We're going to have a ton of fun. For those of you that haven't watched the channel at all, again, my name is Zack. I cover Waterloo Region with my partner, Matt Phipps. So KWC, I love that people can start saying that because before it was like Kitchener-Waterloo, KW, and then Cambridge was kind of like the stepchild that people forgot about. Yeah. But we cover all markets. We work buyers, sellers, investors. We are investors ourselves, and a large part of our business is investors. Cool. So we'll go through kind of everything you need to know as a homeowner, a buyer, investor, as a seller from a perspective of like our overall market. So if you guys have no idea what Waterloo Region is like, or you already know the market well and you just want to know what's going on, boom, we're going to cover that first. Then we'll get into kind of a bunch of other things we're going to talk about. So here's kind of the menu for today. And we're going to do an investor event. I'll pitch this, guys. We do have an investor event coming down the pipeline. Waterloo Region as a whole, what you guys need to watch for. And Emma, like I know a lot of people, you're big on understanding your market and getting really specific for the types of deals and the type of market you're in. You bet. Especially in the GTA where you're at, specifically Toronto. There's so many different segments. So I want people to get a general understanding, and then we'll go into prices and deals for specific types of properties. Cool. So you guys can leave this video having a little bit of a more specific overview of different types of deals and the market at large.
Oh man, I'm excited. I can't wait to learn about this.
Just what you should be really excited about is the menu we got right here. This is just a quick little bump for a favorite lunch spot in downtown Kitchener. So anybody that's watching the video, if you're local and you haven't hit it up already, it's Givral Deli on King Street in downtown Kitchener. I eat there all the time. A couple of people have sent me DMs because I've posted about this. This is like the cheap Vietnamese takeout spot in downtown Kitchener. So if investors, buyers, you're coming down, you're shopping my market, you're checking out the area, hit up downtown King Street. This is the spot. They haven't changed. Inflation hasn't hit this company yet.
I was going to say, is this your special restaurant for when you get it, when you strike a deal? You guys go here for your celebratory meal?
No. Celebratory could be a little bit more swanky than this. We've upped the budget lately, but I'm talking like $6 for a lunch that is like prime. So
okay, I had
to give him a little pitch. Like, look, it was $4.75 for a full sandwich. Get out of here.
I know, that looks awesome. I'm coming down for that. That's for sure.
So, everybody, we held an investor event in the spring. We went through duplex conversions, everything about them. We had an opportunity to meet a ton of people off the Canadian Real Estate channel, Emma, and had a chance to have some really good conversations. We talked about a ton of stuff. Our next investor event is coming here in September or early October, date to be determined. We have about 20, maybe 30 spots left. We're going to be talking specifically about joint ventures, how to structure them, how you can break those deals down, how you can attract potential partners depending on what you can bring to the table. Our markets are changing dramatically, and a lot of people from our network, specifically our investor hot list, have been asking about JVs, how they work, things like JVs, private money, VTBs, understanding how you can really get your hands on a deal.
Cool.
So if you're experienced and you're looking for partners, if you have no experience and you're looking for partners, or anything in between, we want to break down everything for you. We'll also go over private money, creative financing, and just investing in general in Waterloo Region as kind of subtopics. But just an awesome opportunity to get a chance to meet some experienced investors and people that know the market, as well as potentially, meeting partners or learning how you can really get your hands on another deal. I don't know about you, but we see a ton of opportunity coming down the pipeline in the near future with markets shifting. People aren't all going up or down. They're figuring out where they can find value, and we just want to get our network ready.
With these the events that you guys do, are they like, do you guys actually go visit properties? Are they kind of stationary in one particular spot? Like, how do you run them?
That's a really good question. We would love to get to the point where we can do a tour again. Unfortunately, there's just such inconsistencies with COVID protocol for properties still in our market. So it's kind of tough to get, hey, can we have 15 people tour your duplex and then kick out your tenants, or your sixplex and like only look at one of the units? So eventually we would love to do that. I think that's a ton of value. For this particular one, we have a spot that we're kind of getting ready to book. So we're just in the process of narrowing down that, but expect this to come September and October. And
if anything, you're bringing the deals to the people. They don't have to, you don't have to bring the people to the deals. You bring the deals to the people. So I like
more or less. So email info@PhippsBrittain.com. If you guys are interested in the event, just say, hey, JV event. Hey, Zach, we're interested in the investor event, and we'll get you the details as soon as they're finalized. First come, first serve, guys.
Cool.
Also, Emma, if you don't know already, anybody that's looking for a general idea on which investment properties are on the market, what we're looking for in terms of value and deals, we send out an investor hot list every week. And we're actually going to start streaming, going through all of the multi-unit deals on the market on our YouTube channel. But if you just want a quick and dirty email to get an idea of what's on the market, what they're priced at, what we think it could be a good deal, this is a really good way to get a first step into the Waterloo Region real estate market.
I like it.
And if you're looking actively, you got to be working with an agent that knows what they're doing. You got to know exactly what type of deal you're for. This isn't that. This is more a really good introduction and just a once a week insight on what we think is going on for some specific deals. If you guys are ready to take it to the next level and really start looking, then you got to get in touch with us directly. We need to get deep on your numbers and what your portfolio is like. But the investor hot list is a really good way to just kind of keep your finger on the pulse.
Yeah, totally. And we've done something similar in our business. And I think what it does is it allows you to get a general understanding and taste the market a little bit, right? Get an idea of, some high level numbers that could potentially work, a couple of different types of deals that might work for you. And then when, the right thing happens to pop up, then they can reach out to you guys specifically to say, this is, more in alignment with what I'm looking for as you're kind of going through that research phase.
Absolutely. And that's exactly the purpose for it. As investors, you have to get an idea of what types of markets you're in, what prices are like, what they're selling for, what they're renting for. Yep. This is a good introduction to that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so if you guys are in KW region, without question, you got to be on these lists. And I think one of the things, I was talking to my team about this today, and I'm sure you've seen it many times too, Zach. Someone comes through, they give you a call and they say, hey, I'm looking to invest. And you go, excellent. Tell me a little bit more about your criteria. I don't really know. I'm looking at large multifamily in Sudbury. I'm looking at a quad in Windsor. I'm looking for X in this, blah, blah, blah. So
I've talked to this exact same person.
Yes. So that happens all the time on our end. And it's really difficult for us to be able to provide value unless we're able to kind of narrow down if this is going to be the right market for you. So if you're these hot lists will help to kind of narrow things down for you guys and be able to send you information versus you having to go and find all the information and narrow it down because there's so much out there. Mm-hmm. So these lists are really key. I would definitely suggest getting on. If you're looking at a couple different markets, make sure you're on these lists. Stop manually searching. Get on the list and have the stuff sent to you instead of going to search for it yourself.
You nailed it, Emma. It's a really good way. I find as investors kind of grow, or if they're deal hunting, the thing you need to do is identify your top 2 or 3 markets and then the top 2 deals in each of those markets as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So when we're talking with potential, buyers or investors, that's what I want to do. Hey, I understand you want to look at other markets and other types of deals. You're there to find value, right? What is value in our market to you? I need 2 or 3 types of deals that make sense for you, and I will hunt them for you.
For
And
sure.
then you can kind of compare apples to other markets. As an investor, you want to do this quickly as possible. This is a good way to do it.
I don't see why anybody would not take you up on that. So I think they should do
It's
it.
free money, baby.
Let's
So
go.
Waterloo Region in general, this is the lovely downtown Kitchener. I was just there to their revenue department to pay some property taxes, my favorite.
Love it.
This is City Hall, downtown Kitchener, guys. Waterloo Region, we're going to go through inventory prices, showing activity, and just days on market. We're going to go over like just real quick high level so you guys have an idea of where the market is right now. We're mid-August right now, and the market between July and August in ARMORs is typically very slow, right? Inventory will start to stack a little bit. People may try and offload some properties before the end of the year if they have to move for school or for work. But especially now, people are gone. They're traveling. Like, people are out of town, right? COVID kind of donezo for a little bit here. People are finally opening up the gates. They're spending their money. They're getting out. So our inventory, it's up from the same time last year dramatically, but we have the same amount of inventory as we did in June, right? It's
still
been
pretty
kind
low.
of, it's yeah, it is. It
Still
really
pretty low.
is. But our showing activity is the exact same as it was last year when we had less than half the inventory. So we have more than double the amount of listings,
Yep.
but the same showing activity. So let's say last year you had a detached home that's listed at 700K. You're getting 50 showings on that. You'd be lucky to get 25 in 2-3 weeks now.
Yep.
Lucky.
Yep.
So just to give you perspective, prices, our average price point is down from last year. We were, down about a few thousand. We're pretty much at the same price levels as we were last year.
Okay.
But indications are pointing that prices are going to stay the same or decrease a little bit in the near future, right?
Okay.
As inventory stacks up and as demand doesn't get stronger, more options for buyers. Buyers are going to shop more. Properties are going to sit longer. Prices will stay the same or come down.
Did you see? So you obviously have inventory up and showing activity staying the same. Over the summer months,
Mhm.
have you noticed, like what we've seen in our market at least is, a lot of people, sign contracts March, April, and May with the expectation that they're going to get February peak pricing. And I don't know. I'm assuming peak pricing was February for you guys as well, or somewhere in and around there. Now, typically it's 90-day like contracts in Toronto for listings. So, we've come up to that 90 days or are coming up to those 90 days. And as a result, we've actually seen active listings reduced because these sellers are like, I'm just not going to sell anymore. In March, my expectation was February. Now we're in July. It's not even close to being the same thing.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to panic sell, just take my house off the market. Have you kind of seen the same thing in your market?
Yes, very similar, just not to quite as a large of an extent.
Okay.
More so in the newer properties, maybe as they tried to sell maybe right after closings for any buildings that were completed in the spring.
Yep.
But that's like such a small portion, it wouldn't dramatically affect the market.
Okay.
We've definitely seen more cancellations, more expired listings. And that kind of brings me to that last point there is days to sell is up to 2 weeks. And that is like such a misleading stat. Because what happens is just similar to what you said, Emma, contract for a listing is 90 days, and then they cancel the list. The listing expires, and then they relist it at a much more realistic price because prices have adjusted since they listed the property in March, and then it sells in 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, well then the days to sell for that listing is only 2 to 3 weeks, as opposed to the 4 months it's actually been off and on the market for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a little skewed. I think the inventory numbers, prices, and showing activity are really good indications. Days to sell is always one of those stats that I just caution people. If we're working with sellers right now, and I'm telling them 30 to 60 days. You're looking at, if you price it properly, you're looking 30 to 60 days to get an accepted offer and have it firm up.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good point that you bring up, because I think a lot of agents, overpromise and underdeliver when they start to take listings, because they go, hey, average days on market's 2 weeks. Like, we're likely going to get this thing sold in 14 days. And, sellers go and they interview, let's say 3 or 4 agents before they list. And they're like, well, this guy seems to think that he can get it sold in 14 days. And everybody else is telling me it might be 30 to 60. Well, if you're only taking into consideration a very small portion of the overall picture, it is a skewed outlook. So make sure that you do understand listing cancellations and relists. Most people who are going to market right now in Toronto and KW are not selling in the first 2 weeks.
No, absolutely not. The only way you're selling within the first 2 weeks is one, super unique luxury properties, premium lots and locations. or you're underpricing it like crazy and you're getting multiples. And that's still really kind of, going out of style very quickly.
Very much so.
I've been, this is my 6th full year in the business, and I've really learned to just not sugarcoat it. My job, if you're selling a property, they're hiring you to sell it, right? They're not hiring it. They're not hiring me to have the property sit on the market overpriced for 2 months, 3 months. That's a waste of everybody's time. You do really have to be realistic. So I think that's just really good advice. And, Emma, you did mention something that was really interesting too. And this is something we really encourage: to interview a few agents. We have a lot of people that are reaching out to us. If you watch our videos, we really appreciate it. But talking to a few different agents is a really just good piece of advice. There's a lot of people that, have experience or don't have experience. They maybe do things a different way, but getting a little bit more clarity on who a good fit is for your specific type of deal. Like, we know the types of deals that we're very good at and that we can truly provide value to clients on. We're going to crush those, and we will do those types of deals, and we'll move forward with that. So I think that's just a really good piece of advice, just on top of what's really going on in our market.
And I think, confident and competent agents will usually advise, like, you should, if you actually find a better fit and you think somebody's going to do a better job, work with them. Like, it just is what it is, right? But I also think that you get to understand kind of like the different flavors of real estate and how people like the sentiment around, it's not only just the numbers, it's like the sentiment around how things happen. So for me, I always like to discuss, because we work with a lot of buyers, like, what buyers are coming through this property, how are they going to perceive this, so that we can put the seller's mentality in a different framework. It's not just all about this sale price. It's like, we have to take into consideration so many different variables and make sure that you're talking to different people to understand the variables that they're taking into consideration, because you might be looking around a corner that you couldn't otherwise see around.
Yeah. And I think this kind of actually just plays into some of the stuff we're going to cover in the next few points here, is putting yourself in the perspective of the opposite side. If I'm a buyer, I need to be thinking like a seller. If I'm a seller, I need to be thinking like a buyer. Right. And same with an investor. We'll touch on this later because I'll just get sidetracked. But I think the good segue to just buyers in general. And like you said, you and your team work with a lot of buyers. We work with a ton of buyers as well. We're about 50-50 buyers and listings. Just if anybody's watching this video and you're considering buying, whether you're experienced or you're like, I'm just trying to get my first, one in the door, this is just general advice that applies to our current market. The vault there is to indicate lock down your financing. And I don't mean you get somebody that says, yeah, you're pre-approved to this, without verifying your information. Talk to an experienced mortgage broker or a trusted financing contact. We have lots depending on what you're looking at, but that's not the important thing. The important thing is you understand the different scenarios that are likely to happen in the financing environment. If interest rates go up, if you go variable, if you go fixed payment variable rate, like it can get not necessarily complicated, but it can get detailed. And as a buyer in a changing market, you need to know all of the likely scenarios. And as your agent, I need to know this stuff as well, because that'll help me better understand what potential properties and scenarios would actually offer a good fit or value. So it's just please, and do not look at properties without getting your financing locked in. You will lose it. It's gone. It doesn't exist. You need to have your financing locked down. And I'll skip to that last point there, is use conditions to your advantage. Another really good part is, during a shifting market, buyers and sellers are a little spooked. They don't necessarily know what's going on. And I think in the last video I mentioned, we did 2 deals in July alone where our buyers were airtight on their financing. We were offering well under their max budget, and they didn't have to bring a financing condition, and we're competing. You do still have to compete sometimes for properties. So they were competing, and we won, and we weren't even the highest priced offer. We could offer the closing date they wanted, and we didn't have a financing conditions. And the sellers were like, well, crap, if the market keeps going down and I pass on a firm offer, I'm an idiot. So we saved our clients
a lot of
easily 10
uncertainty
grand
with these guys. So, if you can give some type of certainty in an extremely uncertain market, that is your disproportionate advantage over other buyers in today's market.
Value that is saving you thousands. So I'm not saying don't offer without conditions, but use conditions to your advantage, and understand how to use them in a negotiation depending on the property and the situation.
Totally. And I think one important point too, regardless of whatever market you're looking in, a lot of people who were pre-approved earlier have the assumption that their affordability hasn't changed. And I think it's really important that, hey, if you think you know what your finances are and you haven't reviewed and you haven't reviewed that with your mortgage broker in the last 30 days, then it doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Doesn't
That
count.
doesn't count
Go
at
back
all.
again and figure it out. Just because someone gave you a number 90 days ago or sometime last year, it's not the same thing.
No,
Or likely is not the same thing.
it's definitely not the same thing. I mean, I can't say that with 100% certain, but it's definitely not the same thing.
Yeah.
So
It's very, 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 very likely not the same thing.
yeah. So airtight,
Yeah.
airtight. And then again, shop your inventory. Guys, there's more than double the inventory there was last year. Shop it.
Yeah.
Shop it. I mean, buyers agents out there are probably like, Zach, shut up. Tell the buyers to buy the first property they see and move on. But the reality is, like, you have a chance to shop with a lot less pressure than you have in the last 5 years. Use that to your advantage. You know, that doesn't mean be unrealistic about your expectations. That means get very clear and specific and shop those deals aggressively, and just know that if the perfect deal doesn't come up in the first 2 weeks, don't worry. There's still lots of inventory. You can have a little bit more patience, but understand that you're doing that, understanding that you know the interest rate environment's changing.
Yeah,
so consider that as well.
I like it.
Sellers. This one's going to be quick. I hammer on this a lot on our social media, on our Instagram, and on previous videos. Show ready, clean it, declutter it. Like, think about this. There is more than double the inventory, but the same amount of buyers. So I have to compete. If I'm selling my house, I have to compete with double the other listings. That means I need to be better than other listings in order to sell it at all, let alone at a good price. So it has to be show ready. Staging works. Shocker. And then price it right, please. If you are pricing the property to give you, let's say, 5 to 10% wiggle room in negotiating, because most properties are selling at or under asking price, you're overpricing it in our market right now.
Yeah, for sure. That is a very good point. You have to have a strategic advantage. Like, you have to give yourself a strategic advantage if you want to sell at all, right?
At all.
Getting showings is difficult.
Yes.
Getting offers is even more challenging.
Correct.
So you need to give yourself every single opportunity you possibly can to increase your likelihood of getting someone to the door. Not even an offer on paper, to the door, right?
Yes. Yes. All these are very, very true. And the reality is, if it doesn't show well online, you're not getting any showings. If you're not getting showings, you're not going to get any offers. Yeah. And I can't, a lot of people were making mistakes as the market was really shifting, because the market was changing really quick in the spring, right? Now the market's starting to kind of find its feet a little bit. Everybody's kind of taking a little bit of a deep breath. But at the same time, to get people to put an offer on paper, your property has to stand out and has to be priced right. Right? At the end of the day, because what's going to happen is you're going to chase the market down. So if you guys don't know what chasing the market is, it means if a market's changing so quickly and your price and your selling strategy doesn't reflect the market that you're currently in, you're going to have to adjust to it, and your property's going to sit on the market longer than it should. And people are going to think that since it's sitting on the market, something's wrong with it. And now they're just, even if they come see it, they're just going to start throwing you garbage offers. So just stop the bleeding, guys. Be realistic, understand your market really well, and just price it right. Right. We're just going to move on, because that is the number one thing.
Perfectly said.
Right. Short and sweet, baby. So investors, price and financing changes. We're going to get into the investor side a little bit deeper throughout, towards the end of this. If you haven't already, build up some cash positions so that you guys can execute and you can take advantage of potential deals, and also just give you flexibility with financing. And a lot of people in our network have kind of hit that financing wall. So what I mean by that is, you've been able to take advantage of small to mid-level investments with residential financing, maybe just yourself or some family members or friends and partners, which is great. Like, a couple multi-units, couple flips, couple single families. That's awesome. And look, you're doing great. If you have a handful of properties under your belt and you're in Southern Ontario right now and you're not out every month, you're doing great. But for a lot of people that are looking to continue to build their portfolios, moving up maybe to commercial financing could be a very viable option given the current financing environment. As well as it could help you add property or add different types of investment properties, i.e. larger multi-units that cash flow better long-term and will offer you more flexibility in the future. So price in your financing changes. There's still value to be had. In our market, we still rely very heavily on positive cash flow. Even duplexes and triplexes still cash flow fairly well. And these are just general notes for investors. If you're just starting as an investor, your number one thing that you need to educate yourself on isn't finding deals. It's It's the money side of things.
Yeah.
It's the financing.
What would you say in, let's call it a B plus neighborhood? What would you say right now, the average duplex would cost you in KWC in a B neighborhood from a purchase price perspective?
Yeah, you're looking at 850 to 9 probably for 850 probably for a B plus neighborhood. If you're in a midtown neighborhood that's a busy side street, small lot, small house, 850 is fine if it's vacant. Yeah. If it's tenanted and the tenants have been in there for a few years, a sub 8 because the rents are 300 to 400 a unit under value probably.
Right. And what would you be looking at rent wise? Like what would an upper go for something like that?
Vacant right now, you can get 2,500 for a
2,500 for like 3-bed upper in like
a B plus neighborhood.
Would they be traditionally like side splits?
Yeah.
Okay, something
side splits, bungalows, raised bungalows.
Yeah.
If you do raised bungalows or side splits, typically you're only getting a 1-bedroom in the basement, and you can get like 16, like consistently 17 probably, depending on your parking situation. But like you should be looking at getting 4K plus a month on a duplex if you have it vacant right now.
Okay, so you're looking at essentially 0.5% of rents to purchase price in a B plus neighborhood.
Yeah, give or take.
Okay, cool.
Give or take. And we'll get into kind of price ranges for duplexes, duplex conversions, and then house hacks because there's a few deals that are on the market right now.
Cool.
Let's look at coming months, guys. Inflation. I went to school for economics, but I'm not an economist. But inflation is really important. There's actually reports that got released today that inflation was starting to kind of curb a little bit. Gas prices coming down. Yippee. Just public service announcement. And this is not the end. Inflation is still very high. Yes, our inflationary targets are silly at the low 2s, but inflation is still the number one problem. So the financing environment will be controlled by what central banks are going to do to combat inflation. If inflation stays high, expect interest rates to continue to rise. If inflation curbs more aggressively, expect interest rate rises to kind of slow a little bit. But the reality is, in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, there was periods where inflation and interest rates were bouncing up and down for more than a couple of years. And that is much worse for our economy long-term than if we just snip it in the butt right now and really get inflation under control. So, pay attention to this. And a lot of my clients do, a lot of our people on network do, but if you don't, call your bankers, call your real estate agents, call your investors, like get in touch with people that are actually looking at these things. I track this stuff. Like we look at this. I'm really into this stuff. And I think it is really important to obviously understand what I think is going to happen. But again, like these are just things that we're looking to get more context and more confidence on what we should be doing.
Yeah.
And I just put the photos of the donuts because for those of you that don't know, I'm a big donut guy. I eat about 100 a year. I eat exactly 100 donuts a year. I used to rate them. I'm trying to get my social media profiles back. I'm currently suspended. But grain prices and baked goods rose over 12% last month. So my donut budget is going up, ladies and gentlemen. So that is what's happening in my life. It's tough life.
What's your favorite donut flavor?
Oh, chocolate. I'm a chocolate dip, simple chocolate dip. I'm a simple guy. Just give me a really good fresh chocolate dip or a sour cream glaze, stick to the classics, baby.
Classic. I like it.
And then just finally, Emma, inventory and demand. Track your inventory and demand numbers. If inventory is coming up and demand staying the same, that's good news for buyers. As a seller, as an investor, these are things you need to know as well to understand how competitive your market really is going to be.
For sure.
So that's what we're expecting in the coming months. We're also doing the investor event. info@PhippsBrittain.com. Shoot us an email, guys. This is joint ventures, private money, Waterloo Region Real Estate. This is September, maybe first week of October, but info@PhippsBrittain.com. We got 20, maybe 30 spots. So email us there. And then investor hot list. We're going to get into the investor hot list right now, Emma. So for anybody that's, looking at this part of the video, we'll go through some general kind of numbers for what a house hack property would be, what a duplex conversion should look like, and what legal duplexes and multi-units should really look like if you're actively looking for good deals in our market. PhippsBrittain.com/contact. The link will be in the description. But these are just like really good overviews for anybody that is currently looking or considering Waterloo Region as a market. Properties like this, Emma, this is a single family, great option for a house hack or a duplex conversion. This is 59 Queenston Crescent, Kitchener. It's a midtown neighborhood. This was actually one of the last neighborhoods that was built by the German and Dutch development companies back in the 80s. Solid builds, decent frontage, decent backyards, double wide parking and a garage space. Got the breezeway for the entrance for this. It's basically like a raised bungalow. Raised bungalows, split levels in midtown locations are prime because they're probably in decent enough condition where you can live in them. and also have the layout where you can rent out rooms upstairs or a separate living space in the basement without converting it into a legal duplex if you don't have the money.
Yeah.
If you want more central locations, I'm a downtown guy. I love the downtown area. That's where I grew up. So 2 stories in downtown Kitchener and DTK, or 2 stories in Uptown. They'll, nice brick builds, smaller lots, better locations in terms of how central you are to everything. But you're likely to get smaller square footage, and you'll do like a 1-bedroom upstairs and a 2-bedroom in the basement, or main floor, or vice versa.
Okay, cool.
Rental income for something like this, let's say it's not a legal duplex, but you have a little kitchen in the basement, you're getting at least $1,500 a month for that, for a 1-bedroom, 1-car parking. PhD students, post-grad students, people that are there for work contracts, fellow co-workers or family members or friends. Like, these are people that are buying your first house or maybe your second property, and you're upgrading to a detached and you want to supplement that income. Something like this is a great option. $629K, you're probably going to end up paying around that, give or take a few thousand. Anything under $650 for this is a great deal. Maybe update the bathroom so you're less than, all in, you'll probably spend less than $10K after you get your hands on it.
I was just going to do, we'll go on to the next one. I'm just going to do a little bit of quick math there for carrying costs, overall carrying costs. Just to let these guys know what, if you lived in this house, this is how much money you're looking to spend every single month purchasing this.
Yeah, so typically for house hackers, you're likely going to, kind of the math that I've done is you're likely going to spend about $200 to $400 a month more than what you'd be renting for. Yeah. But you're going to be in a house. So I don't hate that.
What would taxes be on something like this, do you think?
You're low 3,000, so let's say 3,100.
3,100 or so.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and then you said about 1,500 in rental income.
Yeah, if you're go ahead.
Sorry, I was going to say you're looking at total monthly cost before utilities is about $3,400, right? Yeah. So you're looking at purchasing this property, renting out the basement, and then living and house hacking this for around $2K ish, yep. Which is likely what it's going to cost you to rent this upstairs.
Yeah, you would spend probably closer to $2,300, $2,400 to rent the upstairs if you were renting.
Okay, so there is the opportunity to, depending on the condition of the property inside, save money in comparison to renting and to own this thing in today's, we're talking like today, right now. And that's running, yes. I ran my numbers there at 4.25 fixed.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. Easy way for you guys to save $300 or $400, pay for your gas every single month, and own a house.
Yeah, and gas prices coming down, baby.
There you go.
So, there you go. And what's funny is this is what me and my wife did for our first place. We did a duplex conversion, and I did the math. I was like, I even borrowed money to finish the duplex conversion. After I counted for everything, I was like, I'm in a property for less than $50K, and I am spending an extra $150 a month, and I own this thing.
Yeah, and I did the same type of strategy when I, for the first couple properties that we've had, and living with other people is maybe not the sexiest thing, and it's especially if you've got, it's a couple that's moving in, maybe both partners are not necessarily on the same page, but I will tell you guys, for both of us, it was the lever that skyrocketed us being able to be where we are now at the end of the day. And so that small short-term sacrifice was, looking back now, one of the best sacrifices on having to deal with, other people for a short period of time, because it's allowed us to leverage up and to scale into, forever homes at the end of the day.
Absolutely. It is sexy, making money.
Yeah, for sure.
Every time.
I like it.
I like it. So duplex conversions, the bread and butter of the Kitchener-Waterloo Region real estate market for the last 5-10 years, guys. And they really have become much more favorable. We touched on this in the last video as well. You could purchase a property that is able to be converted from a single family home to a duplex anywhere between $600 and $750K. We've gotten 2 in the last 60 days around 600. And then this particular property, actually somebody from our investor hotlist picked up 3 weeks ago for just over $700K. You say, well, Zach, $600K to $700K, that's a big difference. They're going to convert this into a legal duplex for less than $25,000.
Wow.
So they're going to be in a legal duplex for under $750, and they're going to be grossing more than $4K a month in rent.
Yeah. And so you have to think about it. The 100 grand mentally, you're like, oh, wow, it's a lot. But when you're thinking about leveraging capital, there's actually less capital to be leveraged in scenario two, though it looks less sexy on paper from a purchase price. It's
Yep.
less capital intensive than to buy something at 600K with the down payment plus 150K in renovation costs. And so, depending on your your personal situation and capital allocation and availability, don't just look at purchase price. You have to take into consideration the whole picture.
Exactly. And that just kind of leads into the next point, or the first point there is target an all in under 850. If you're all in a legal duplex that is like an 8 and a 10 or nicer in a midtown B plus or higher neighborhood, you're sitting pretty. And
Yeah.
for all of our people that did purchase properties, like us included, we have properties that we're all in for more than that, but they're financed with, yesterday's mortgage financing. They're still cash flowing very well.
Yeah.
So if you're in that boat, sit tight, pay down that debt, let these tenants carry the property, keep it in good shape, wait for the market to bounce back up or refi it or HELOC it and use that capital for something else. Your renovation budget, so Emma, you're anywhere from 25 to 150K.
Okay.
If you get an absolute hunk of junk, but it's on a nice lot, but you need roof, windows, AC, furnace, everything. Okay. You're 150, maybe 180, depending on the square footage.
Okay.
Right. But like these types of properties are awesome for like a house hack or a straight up duplex conversion. If you don't have the capital right away, house hack it. There's a kitchenettes in the basement, kitchens in the basement. Get somebody in there, a buddy, a friend, somebody you're going to school with, somebody you work with, whatever. Start getting some cash in your pocket and then convert it. Bonus points if you're looking at larger lots.
Right.
Tiny homes, ADUs, they are real. We are getting ready to do some of those on some of our properties as well as some clients. Cheap way to add units and just extra land. I mean, I don't know if you guys listen to some podcasts, Andrew Hines pushes on it. A couple other people that do some podcasts here in Canada really push on, okay, well, if you have an option to buy extra land with the properties you're getting, take it. You can add additions, you can add additional units, parking, storage, sheds, whatever. It just gives you options to reinvest in your property or your current holdings if you don't have opportunity to go acquire new property.
If there's anything I've learned from being in Toronto, it's the more land you have, the better.
Yeah.
Right. It usually is the case.
That usually works in your favor. So, if you want premium location, large lot, larger square footage, let's say 1,200 square feet, do bungalow or larger, you're probably closer to the 7 to the 750 purchase price.
I'm not as familiar with your market, but with these kind of traditional larger, like I'm assuming that this is probably like a 45 foot lot frontage or something like that, maybe something, right? Is it typical in like KW region for people like for these to be teardowns and rebuilds? Like, do you know what the situation is with like tearing this down and then doing like a semi or something like that?
Great question. So there's about 3 neighborhoods that really make a ton of sense for that.
Okay.
If you guys are watching this video, Google Maps this right now, you're at Weber and Kinsey. That is like Kingsdale neighborhood. There's a lot of that going on. Semi-duplexes, semi-detached. If you're uptown Waterloo, there's a few guys and girls that are building like premium single-family semi-detached. You can get like a 2,500 square foot, beautiful semi-detached in the heart of the city. Awesome.
Cool.
And then if you're on, let's say, Kingsway and First to Kingsway and 9th, you're talking like 1.5 stories, old bungalows, wartime homes, but they're on like 50-foot frontage and like 140 deep lots. Those are getting gobbled up by builders. They'll knock them down and they'll build stuff like, layup. These are layup deals, by the way.
I like that.
This is what I'm talking about building. These are the duplexes that they're going to be building. So they'll knock down an old 1.5 story.
Yep.
And they'll build a detached duplex like this, or they'll build semi-detached duplex like I'll show in the next one.
Yep.
These are legal duplexes, guys. This one actually sold for 1.1 million about a month ago. And that was like pretty good price. One of the main reasons why this sold for 1.1 million is vacant, owner-occupied vacant units, and there's an unfinished basement. So you can add an additional unit in the future. So when they originally build it, they can get the zoning and the permits to build a legal duplex. But then the zoning will also permit for 3 units on a property like that.
Mm-hmm.
But they can't necessarily get the permits to do it legally when they're building the original structure, and it would take them longer and cost them more money. So what builders will do is they'll build it and then they'll just leave the basement vacant and have all your access points, have your egress windows, have it insulated. So you just got to board it up and put in your rough-ins and you're good to go.
Cool.
So Legal duplexes, though, Emma, 800 to 1.1, give or take. There's only been 4 multi-units that have sold in the last 2 weeks in all of Waterloo Region, and we sold 2 of them. There are 2 duplexes that we sold, like 4. There's not a lot of properties that are actually selling.
Yeah.
And again, because our clients were realistic with their price, and we positioned them well.
Cool.
So the big difference for duplexes, if you guys aren't super familiar, as an investor or just as a straight up buyer that wants to live in one, is vacant versus tenanted. In Toronto, Emma, I'm assuming rental rates are quite strong, and rental rates have gone up pretty aggressively in the last 5, 10, 15 years.
Yep.
So if I have a tenant that's been in a duplex I've owned for 10 years, their rents are so low compared to what I could rent that unit out in today that it'll diminish the value of the property I'm selling. So if you're selling a property with vacant units, value goes up. If you're selling a property with tenanted units and they're paying great rents, okay, then you can probably maintain value.
Yeah.
Other things like separate hydrometers, the parking situation, as well as location of the property will dramatically determine the kind of the value that you can get from the property. As well, if you're buying legal duplexes, the lots and the future potential of the property, whether it's add an additional unit in the basement, just like these ones, or it's add a tiny home in the backyard or an addition, then those are other things you can look for. And then the purpose-built ones. I think, here we go. We got some more purpose-built ones here. The one on the right is 146 Whitechapel, $799 for a legal duplex that's like brand new. It's a semi-detached, so side-by-side units. It's fully rented. They're bringing in about $4,000 a month, I believe. That's a Steph Curry layup for somebody who's looking to make a couple $100 a month and just wait for it to appreciate because it's brand new.
Yeah.
Tenants turn over in the next few years, market recovers, you put it on the market, or you re-rent it out and refinance it. Great.
Do you think so you said $4,000 approximately for like gross rents right now?
Yes.
Is that under rented, or are those fair valuations for today's market?
I think they could have gotten a little more for their 3-bedroom. But $100, $200, they may be able to squeeze that. But again, I would give up $100 a month for an A+ tenant.
Oh, all day long.
All day. So, and then Walker, the one on the left, that is actually right by the Kinsey and Weber neighborhood where a lot of this stuff is getting done. A lot of purpose-built duplexes, a lot of purpose-built semi-detached duplexes. They're asking $1,449,000 for this one. Little bit of a price difference, but this would likely be a nice big single-family home with an accessory apartment in the basement. Whereas Whitechapel is straight up, these are 2 rental units.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, both great deals at the end of the day.
Big price difference for Walker. I don't think you'll get as much rent out of that to justify that type of price, but good option for somebody who wants a more premium live-in.
I look at that. I think that's a great option. If you're solely an investor, the right side of the equation probably makes more sense from a numbers perspective. However, if you're somebody who's not looking to do any renovations, prefers some newer inventory or housing stock, and you want to mitigate your overall carrying cost by having the opportunity to rent the basement, then the left side of the equation, in my opinion, from a longer term value perspective, if your target market is to sell to end users, then the left side of the equation is unbelievable for that segment of the market.
Yeah. And you're looking, these are brand new. So you're hands off for 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
Nice. And you would look to either refi or sell it within that window. And then because then you don't have to reinvest into it. Right. So you pay a little bit more upfront, you get something you'll enjoy a little bit more personally, and then you do absolutely nothing to it. And one thing I just want to highlight before we move on is these are purpose built, right? There are some advantages to taking purpose built units, right? When we convert properties into legal from single family homes to legal duplexes, we're setting them up to be purpose built. But there are a lot legal non-conforming, older properties that have been chopped together over the last 50, 60, 70 years, and you're going to have to open up that can of worms. Yeah. I want a better purchase price or better upside to offset for that value. But these are hands off, guys.
I just wanted to ask you one more question about these 2 neighborhoods again, because I'm not as familiar. So I apologize.
No, bring it on.
Ignorant about this. But with the property on the right side, Whitechapel there, is that neighborhood is predominantly comprised of these purpose-built, essentially, I want to say sole investment properties, right? Is that what the bulk of the neighborhood is comprised of? Is this style?
There's a lot more rentals in that area.
Okay, cool.
Same with Walker actually as well.
With Walker as well. Okay. So the reason why I asked that is because there's going to be a lot of investment purists on this particular channel that, especially if you stayed for this long into the video.
Yeah.
But as having worked with, I guess, a different type of investor profile in Toronto, where it's not necessarily always about the cash flow, and you think about kind of like exit strategies, buyer pools, all that kind of stuff, then I say, okay, well, you really do have to look into what type of investor you are, because the left side of the equation, I personally believe, brings in a larger buyer pool, because now you have investors and you have end users that would be more likely to take this type of housing stock in the future. Where on the right side, it's all about the numbers. The neighborhood is maybe more geared towards this particular type of property. Therefore, you probably do have a large buyer pool, but it's going to be investors only on the right side of the equation. So it's just something for anybody that's watching this video, like, understand what kind of investor you are. You really have to take that into consideration to figure out what one is the better deal for you long term.
Self-awareness is key, my friend. Self-awareness is key. The end user ones, and the same with Walker, they're like, those are, look uptown Waterloo or downtown Kitchener, because they're building some fantastic property. You're paying for it. Don't get me wrong. You're paying that brand new premium for it, but you're getting exactly what you want. The locations are great, so they'll appreciate well. But again, like you said, it will tailor to those live-in investors as well as somebody who's just looking for the return in a good location.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, these are straight up for duplex conversions. Queenston, 59 Queenston, we went great house hack because it is in livable condition. 371 Forest Hill for $599. Going to take a lot more juice. You could probably drop, maybe even 250 into this, but you could get like 3 units out of this property, and the neighborhood is awesome.
You're gonna need some landscaping on that property there.
Hey, landscaping, one of the best ROI, guys.
There you go.
But this is a split level in Forest Hill neighborhood. Sorry, Midtown location again. Predominantly brick builds with a little bit of siding. Dutch and German developers built these ones, so you got some fat lots, good frontage, so you have room for all your parking, and then you also have a decent yard in the backyard. But you could put a bachelor, a 1 to 2 bedroom, and a full 3-bedroom unit in this property. It's gutted. Like, you're gonna need to put some work, but anybody that wants a little bit more of a project, you could be all in a triplex, for well under $1 million.
Cool,
fantastic.
That's great.
Yeah. And then for people that are looking for a little bit less of a project to bite off, the Queenston one at 629, great opportunity. If we can find anything like that around 650 or less that is in livable condition, just needs a little bit of a refresh upstairs, I'm really interested in those right now for clients, because the purchase prices aren't super aggressive, so your mortgages aren't massive. Helps with your cash flow, guys. We're going to go through these last couple real quick. 109 more. This is a triplex. This is a 3-unit brick building for $725. I need my Steph Curry layup again.
Yeah, for sure. Is that comprised of primarily 1 bedrooms, or is it a good mix? Or
1 and 2 bedroom units. 2 units are vacant. It's just a fire purchase price, all separately metered, brick build, close to uptown Waterloo, right? Like, very rentable space, slightly busy street because there's a school right across from it. But again, like, this is just cheap doors. These are just cheap units, right? Yeah, sure. So, anybody looking for something on a budget, interested. People are looking to spend a little bit more bank. 59 Brybeck. Not necessarily. This is straight up an investor play. So this is lots of mid-rise buildings in this neighborhood, lots of apartments. You're on a 75 by 165 lot, 6-unit building. The rents are not great. This is your long-term hold if you could scoop this up at the right price. There's also, we shared this on the investor hot list. I don't love the price on this, but honestly, multi-units are slim pickings. On that note, though, we shared one on Garden in Preston neighborhood of Cambridge on our investor hot list, Emma. It was a 12-unit building. 8 of them, I think, were bachelors. And it was originally listed at $2.3 million. It's an estate sale. They dropped to 1.9 and then took a conditional offer.
Wow.
That's less than $200K a door.
Yeah, wow.
In Waterloo Region. Don't get me wrong, rents were garbage. Neighborhoods, maybe a B neighborhood, but getting that amount of units under contract in our market for under $200K a door, no brainer price. Like, we shared that multiple times on the investor hot list. Motivated seller. It's an estate sale.
Yep.
I'm interested.
It's again, what it comes down to, guys, is what type of investor are you, right? And don't let anybody tell you exactly what you should be doing. You got to know your risk tolerance, budget, availability, a willingness to make improvements, what types of tenant profiles you're okay to deal with. There's so many different variables, and you showed, I'm actually really happy you showed a really good plethora and variety of different types of investment properties. And I just think what's really important is oftentimes people think their way is the right way to do things.
Yep.
And you showed several different ways that different types of investors, like an investor is somebody who's looking to put some capital down and to get a return. Like ultimately that's what it is. Getting the highest possible ROI for some people is the right move. For other people, it's I want to get a decent ROI and I don't want to have to talk to anybody. I don't want to deal with the tenants. I don't want to do whatever, right? So don't let anybody tell you what type of investor you should be. There's different types of properties for different types of investors. For this particular one that you were just talking about, the 12 unit, that is amazing for people that have capital, willingness to deal with, potentially, long-term tenants that are not going to be favorable to leaving and that kind of thing. So it sounds like on your hot sheet, you guys are sending out deals that can, kind of fit anybody's bill.
We've had, and those are all deals that we have experience in. So it's not like we're just like, oh, we think this could be like, we've probably already crunched the numbers and or previewed the property, or like, man, there could actually be potential here. I'm not saying you have to buy off that, but like we look at this stuff. Like I think Matt previewed, I want to say about a dozen potential duplex conversions yesterday alone.
Okay.
Like we're in and out in 5-10 minutes because we know whether it's a go or not. We know how much it's going to cost. For these larger multi-units, it's a little bit trickier because sometimes there's confidentiality agreements. Sometimes it's difficult to get viewings.
For sure.
It's just a different market. But for anybody that's looking to move up kind of above that 3, 4, 5 unit properties, it's like an airport. It's slow until it's not, right? You're either sitting around doing nothing or it's like there's a deal on the table. You got to move now. The good deals are going very quick in the multi-unit space in our market. And there's maybe only a couple dozen properties that come up. And from that, maybe half a dozen, they're actually decent deals and they're going, within a couple of weeks. So I think we'll just finish off here. For anybody that is looking for the investor hot list, link in the description. What we're seeing in the market right now is I want to see what's going to be happening in September. All of our investors are kind of getting ready, doing some window shopping. All of our sellers are positioning to sell ASAP and our buyers are shopping. They're shopping with aggression because they got their financing locked in. So, that's what we're really expecting for the next, 3, 4, 5 weeks here.
Awesome, man. Well, this was excellent. Like, I'm not just saying that. It was great. I learned a lot. I think that you thoughtfully presented this information, and I think people are going to find a ton of value. If just outside of the team, any of the viewers want to get in contact with you, where's the easiest way for them to find you?
Easiest way is via email or on our Instagram. Myself and Derek, our coordinator, we are very active on our social media platforms. All of our personal contact information via email, it will be in the description, guys. Shoot us a quick email. Happy to set up a quick introductory call, get a better understanding. Like people are reaching out. Sometimes like, oh, you actually called. Like, yes. Like I work with my investors. I will call you. We will meet. We will go look at properties. You will work with me or my partner, Matt, or both of us directly. Like this isn't, this is what we do. So email me directly. Let us know what types of deals you're after or what type of help you need, whether it's financing, coaching, strategy, budgeting. Like if you're the right type of person and you really want to build something properly, we are interested in building long-term relationships with those types of people, regardless of your situation. So get connected. All the links will be in the description, guys.
Well, there you go. If you guys want to get in contact with Zack, all of his contact details will be below. We appreciate you guys sticking it through for 53 minutes in this video with us. And that is a wrap on another Waterloo market update with the Canadian Real Estate Channel. If you found value in this, make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next one.